Hi, welcome to Save with Crypto. My name is Save with Crypto. Now, 6 days ago, I got this email here. Now, the reason I got this is because I was testing the ZoidPay app back in 2024, and it's a fintech app, and I generated a virtual card with it, and I made a couple of purchases with it. I didn't actually put any of my own money on the card because I wasn't able to, but I did have €10 to spend that was kindly given to us by Eduardo Anici, the CEO of ZoidPay. Now, because I used that card then, because I generated a card, I did get this email. What it says basically is, "Dear customer, thank you for your trust and for being part of us. Pursuant to the decision of the Polish Financial Supervision Authority, dated 21st January 2025, to revoke Quicko SPZOO's authorization to provide payment services, we hereby notify you that we are obliged to terminate your framework agreement for payment services provided via third-party applications connected to Quicko." Okay. We will continue to assist you and provide guidance on next steps. If you experience any issues or have questions, please contact our customer support. We are here for you. The statutory notice period is 2 months and will expire on the 7th of April 2026. As of the 5th of April 2026, Quicko has ceased providing payment services offered via third-party applications connected to Quicko. As of this date, it is no longer possible to use payment services, including card transactions or other payment functionalities. Now, the problem here was this was one of the, or I think the provider that ZoidPay were going to use for their new fintech app, which is called Another. And although it was due to come out at the end of January, it wasn't able to because you couldn't generate a card because Quicko were out of business. This was not the fault of ZoidPay or Another, but it actually gets a bit more involved. Actually, I found this article on a Ukraine site. This is on ua.news. I'll get my MacBook to read it for you because it'll be better than me reading it.
Russian footprint in Polish fintech. What lies behind the regulator's sudden decision? A company from Tarnowski Gori, supported by European Union grants, may have helped Russians circumvent the blockade imposed by the West on their country. We uncover what happened behind the scenes: the withdrawal of the license from the Polish fintech Quicko, which, according to a whistleblower, became part of Russia's sanctions evasion machine. Against the backdrop of the decision by the Polish Financial Supervision Authority (KNF), a stablecoin called A7A5 and a Kremlin-controlled bank come into focus. On the 21st of January 2026, the Polish Financial Supervision Authority (KNF) urgently revoked the license of the national payment institution held by fintech company Quicko. This so-called nuclear option is used extremely rarely on the Polish market. Normally, such proceedings take months. This time, the regulator acted at lightning speed. Why? In its official statement, the KNF said the decision was driven by a lack of prudent and stable management. According to our information, this concise wording may conceal conscious or unconscious links to a Russian payment system designed to circumvent international sanctions. The development of Quicko's infrastructure was financed in part with public funds. The company implemented a project titled Implementation of an Innovative System for Servicing Card and Online Payments, with a total value of 1.35 million Polish zlotys, of which 800,000 Polish zlotys was non-repayable funding from EU sources. According to the whistleblower who uncovered the case, this very system may have been used to bypass SWIFT, Huawei watches and Netflix in Moscow. The KNF's decision to revoke Quicko's license affected, among others, Polish users of Huawei smartwatches who relied on contactless payments serviced by this fintech. In addition, the company provided services to many legally operating firms. At the same time, according to information obtained by us, Quicko's client base may also have included an entity that allowed Russians to exchange rubles and purchase subscriptions to services blocked in their country, such as ChatGPT, Netflix, Google Cloud or Midjourney. The whistleblower who submitted a report in this case to the Polish authorities was Andriy Lebedev, director of the Estonian fintech Swipelux. As he explains, the story that eventually led him to Quicko began with a routine customer due diligence procedure carried out at his company last year. At that time, representatives of the A7A5 project approached Swipelux. Despite seemingly clean documentation, Lebedev's compliance department rejected the client due to a suspicious structure and transaction volumes indicating possible links to the Russian government. The intuition of the Estonian experts was confirmed 6 months later, when the U.S. Office of Foreign Assets Control OFAC, the U.S. Treasury body responsible for enforcing economic sanctions, officially sanctioned the project. A Russian cryptocurrency designed to evade sanctions. A7A5 is a stablecoin, a cryptocurrency designed to maintain the value of a traditional currency pegged to the Russian ruble. In less than a year since its launch in January 2025, it processed transactions worth more than $100 billion United States dollars. According to analysts at Elliptic, the asset forms the backbone of an advanced Kremlin sanctions evasion system. The official issuer of A7A5 stablecoins is Old Vector LLC, registered in Kyrgyzstan. However, Elliptic researchers established that the project is in fact controlled by the Russian company A7 LLC, whose main shareholders are entities directly linked to the Russian state apparatus. The purpose of A7A5 was to facilitate cross-border payments for Russian entities. In the second half of 2025, its creators launched the Stable Pay service as a new initiative to increase the usability of the stablecoin. The service operates through a simple mechanism. 1. A user tops up a virtual debit card with A7A5 tokens. 2. The funded card can then be used to pay for foreign services that have officially blocked access for users from the Russian Federation. And this is where Quicko re-enters the story. Dangerous links of a Polish fintech. After rejecting the business proposal linked to A7A5 and following the imposition of sanctions on the project, Andriy Lebedev paid little attention to the matter for some time. Recently, however, out of curiosity, he decided to check whether the Russian stablecoin was still active. I was shocked to see them fully operational, advertising the ability to deposit and withdraw Russian rubles. I started asking myself, who is the provider enabling this? Who is ignoring U.S. sanctions and actively cooperating with such a company? This search led me directly to Quicko, Lebedev says. In a recording provided to our newsroom, the whistleblower demonstrates step by step the process that led him to the company from Tarnowski Gori. The Stable Pay system instructs users how to top up a card with cryptocurrency, for example, stablecoins, in order to make a payment in euros or dollars. During the payment authorization process, MasterCard ID check, the logo of the entity LifeUp appears on the screen. This brand directly services the transaction on the user's side, acting as a front shop, a mask intended to conceal the real beneficiary. On the LifeUp website, the footer contains information about the card issuing bank BIN provider. The tax identification number NIP listed there belongs to Quicko. Quicko responds, "We do not operate in Russia. We requested comment from the management of the Tarnowski Gori-based company." In a written statement, CEO Grzegorz Mencel categorically rejected the allegations. The company has taken note of the KNF communication of the 21st of January 2026 and is analyzing the current situation. We treated the KNF announcement with due seriousness and responsibility. Appropriate procedures have been launched in response. At the same time, we emphasize that users' funds are secure and will be fully settled in accordance with KNF recommendations. Any claims that Quicko's infrastructure or cards were used on the territory of the Russian Federation or for the purpose of circumventing existing sanctions are untrue, the statement sent to Bankier.pl reads. It is worth noting that in the era of digital finance, sanctions violations do not necessarily involve a specific territory or deliberate intent to cooperate. They may result from insufficient due diligence of business partners KYB. If a Polish fintech provided its infrastructure to the LifeUp brand without realizing that it served as a front for the sanctioned A7A5 stablecoin, from a regulatory perspective this is no less serious. We also requested comment and additional information from the Financial Supervision Authority and the General Inspector of Financial Information (GIIF). The KNF stated that it could not provide information beyond what was included in its official announcement. The GIIF declined to comment, citing financial secrecy. Poland and Lithuania. A backdoor for Russian capital. According to Andriy Lebedev, the case described here may be part of a broader phenomenon. In professional circles, he says, it is an open secret that Polish financial intelligence units and licensing authorities struggle to enforce strict compliance checks compared with other jurisdictions. Another industry source confirmed to us that Polish authorities lack adequate tools to detect such offenses. Many companies operating under Polish licenses service payments for high-risk sectors, including illegal gambling, using so-called miscoding, disguising the nature of transactions, and facilitate money laundering. Initially, I believed this problem was limited to Polish crypto companies, which in Poland are not licensed, only registered, but it turns out it also applies to payment institutions and EMIs such as Quicko, Lebedev says. He states bluntly that, in his view, the overall effectiveness of the current sanctions regime is close to zero. It is still far too easy to use stablecoins to move money out of Russia, because there are providers willing to exchange these tokens for euros or dollars without properly verifying the source of funds. Most of these providers come from Poland or Lithuania, the Swipelux director stresses. According to Lebedev, the reason lies in regulatory arbitrage. In Estonia or Germany, obtaining a license costs around 250,000 euros, requires hiring local staff and passing a strict, fit and proper, assessment lasting up to a year. This makes the cost of error extremely high and companies fear losing their license. By contrast, in Poland or Lithuania the process could be completed in a week for around 5,000 euros. In Lebedev's view, this has created an environment conducive to shell companies, turning both countries into the path of least resistance for money laundering that supports Russia's war machine. In this particular case, Quicko was used by Russian companies to operate as if sanctions simply did not exist. This allowed them to maintain a business as usual model despite global restrictions. I am convinced this is not an isolated case. Many more companies are likely operating in the same way below the radar.
Okay, well, this is obviously from a kind of Ukraine bias anyway, but nevertheless, interesting stuff, isn't it? And this makes me realise that the whole fintech idea, especially when you're dealing with a product that you're aiming to be worldwide, is not easy at all. So, so at the moment, the ZoidPay, another app, we don't have that at the moment, and there are no timelines because there are new providers being put in place as we speak. There was an update from Adam on the Telegram group. Now, Adam put this here in the public Telegram, so there's nothing secret here. But he said a few days before our planned launch, we were informed that Quicko had its license cancelled by the National Bank of Poland. As a result, their services were suddenly suspended, resulting in us not being able to onboard any new users. This affects the entire European crypto payments landscape. He continues by saying around 150 companies were impacted. As soon as they were informed, they shifted their focus entirely and started working on two parallel tracks. So, A, working closely with AustriaCard and Quicko to make sure the transition to the new provider is done in a fast and efficient way to ensure the setup is compliant and ready for scale, and B, opening conversations with additional providers to provide a safer fallback structure going forward. So this situation doesn't repeat. Okay, that's very important. And he concluded by saying that the community onboarding list was part of the rollout plan from the start. Given the situation, we've simply extended this phase to make sure access continues to be handled in a controlled and stable way, beginning with the community. We'll keep you updated as timelines and next steps are confirmed, and we'll continue to communicate clearly as things move forward. Okay, so I'm very grateful for Adam putting that out there. That's really good to know. In a way, the idea of having like backup providers so that it never happens again is obviously a very good thing. So although we've got a delay, I think at the end of the day, the product's going to be better. So, congratulations to the team for handling it so well. Obviously, we want to see it as soon as possible, as does the team. That is the main goal here. Now, surprisingly, the actual effect it's had on the price hasn't been particularly dramatic, really. We had a sort of like a pump up and a pump down round about that February the 5th, like last Friday, when it was all kind of, everything was going crazy anyway. And the price is down now quite a bit. That blue line is my average sort of buy price, well, my recent buy price, if you like, on Qcoin. And I was, buying here around about sort of 5 months ago, and I've been buying bits and bobs along the way. So the price is down now. So even if it was to go from like where we are today back up to where it was when my average price was, that's still a 40% increase sort of thing. So I think there is massive upside potential for ZoidPay. Now this video is getting on a bit long now, but if you want to know more about how you can swap ZoidPay into the new other token, if you want to know what's happening to your ZoidPay that's in shopping pools and all that, leave a comment down below and I'll get back to you. Okay, do ask any questions you like in the comments, or come along to one of our live streams, which is on weekdays at midday UTC, and we can answer them there. But do make sure you are subscribed to the channel and you got the notifications turned on. But can you do me a massive favour though? Can you give this video a great big fat like, and above all, tell your friends.